Hello, everybody. Welcome back. And I'm going to announce our next speaker. And Brian Wang, I've known him for a number of years now. In fact, his son Isaac has been working in my lab for, there you go. Give him a big hand, Brian Wang. Thank you. His son Isaac has been working in my lab for years now. It's amazing how time flies, yeah. And his son has been to Brazil, and there's a conference in Bregenz, Austria, and that's kind of Holly Borg Brown or Brown Borg. I always get it mixed up. Got me actually introduced to Philippe Sierra, and then of course got in touch with Princess Haya, and so this big circle. You know Holly at Holly Borg Brown at the University of North Dakota. Yep. So she got me in touch with Felipe, and so here we are. And of course, now we have Brian and his son, and so we're one big family. Anyways, I'd like to introduce Brian Wang, and he's going to give us a little talk about the future.
Thank you. So a little bit about myself. I write NextBigFuture, which I've written over 35,000 articles over the last 20 years on a wide range of technologies, anything that I felt would be super impactful. So a lot of stuff on 8,000 articles on space, a lot on energy, nuclear fusion, quantum computers. So I do really deep dives into all the different technologies, including aging research, from the research papers to the business. So I'm going to give a very basic talk today, more for the non-biotechnology longevity experts in terms of what's happening with companies, just to give a more overview of how dominant the Bay Area is, the San Francisco Bay Area is, in terms of both biotech and in terms of longevity on that. So, and give intro and overview and some approaches of what's hot, et cetera. So, the Bay Area longevity has about half of about $22 billion of funding. A lot of this will be detailed by one of our next speakers, who's Carl Flager, who has at agingbiotech.info in-depth spreadsheets that describe all the companies, a very impressive compilation of all that. So look forward to the real details from the next speaker. So you can see that, just from the top 6 companies in the Bay Area in terms of funding, you're already totaling about $10 billion. And like I said, only about $22 billion of that is in the longevity space, so almost half of it there. Altos Labs, funded by Jeff Bezos, primarily. Calico from Google. And then Retro Biosciences recently got a fair bit of funding, and that's from Sam Altman. So the billionaires are funding a lot of these things. So longevity is a segment of the biotech area, and about $2.8 trillion is in biotech. And of that, about 35% or so, depending on how you count it, is, again, in the San Francisco Bay Area. So even though San Francisco Bay Area is considered, Silicon Valley, all that kind of stuff, it's actually, also a biotech capital of the world. 3,000 companies, 147,000 people. And so that the entire ecosystem of that investment is here as well. So all the venture capitalists who are experienced in investing in biotech would be experienced in investing in longevity. The people who be on the boards, like all this interaction of researchers, because you have this concentration of capability in the Bay Area. And then if you're adding in artificial intelligence to your biotech, then of course it's the artificial intelligence capital as well, with Google and all the other companies here. So I would also just mention that GLP-1 has some aging benefits, but it's not specifically focused on aging because it's having weight loss. But that's $120 billion a year, and obesity is about, when we're talking about overall health and public health impacts, about 1 billion people in the world are overweight, obese, depending on how you count it. And the explosion of something that can actually impact that, there's about 20 to 40 million people who are taking or have taken the GLP-1, Ozempic, those kind of things, and there's other versions of that coming up that are even more effective, and they are also providing certain health effects. But it's reducing the negative loss that obesity takes 4 to 10 years off your life, and they're kind of like fixing that problem. And so then you're getting some or all of it, all that back. But for the national aspect of it, that if each condition per person is about $4,000 to $9,000 for more severe cases of obesity, then as you reduce the cost down to like $2,000 per year, it would be beneficial for public health for a country to say, give it to everyone who might need it, and then you come out ahead for your public health program. So these are kind of like the tip of the iceberg of if you had the same thing for longevity, the vast majority of our public health costs for a person for a lifetime concentrate in the last 5 years of your life, right? So when you get old, when you're on the decline, then they load up on the care and treatment at that point, which where all the costs are. So if you can reduce that, defer it, then again, the economics for your country are vastly superior. And so I'm mentioning the weight loss because it's kind of a foreshadowing of something that could be 10 times, 100 times more powerful if you get to true life extension and true health improvement. A visual aspect of biotech in the Bay Area is some of the largest biotechnology companies are all scattered. If you had a map of the Bay Area, giant companies in San Francisco, in Emeryville, all across, again, the map of the Bay Area with biotech. And similarly, you would have a similar map for the large longevity companies. Large concentration in South San Francisco, some in Palo Alto, et cetera. So again, it's makes it easy then to do deals where you can like meet the companies in person. If you wanted to get a large pharma to do a partnership, then you'd be driving around making phone calls and meeting people up and doing that. So it's, again, makes it easier to do deals when everyone's living in the same place. So here's a breakdown of the different categories of it. And you can have multiple breakdowns, because this is a snapshot of a small section, because this is like 3,000, 10,000 companies, and then even 300 companies in the longevity space that you would, have companies working on epigenetics or cellular processes or cell rejuvenation, and then there was a Senolytics removing the zombie cell company. So again, it's just some visualizations of the companies and the areas that they're working in. So the hottest areas are epigenetics, based on the money being spent, and then also Senolytics, and then some of the various companies that are getting certain approvals for various clinical trials, and so progress is being made to actually get these treatments to us as people. There's Rabito who was presenting. They're doing the Senolytics, and that's probably the second hottest area in terms of funding. And then there's mitochondria, and then inflammation, and then the omics, precision medicine. So just another graphical snapshot of that, where you have epigenetics being the most, and then Senolytics metabolism. Okay, and that's basically a brief snapshot of what it is. I want to also say that when we have investments in other areas that are getting hot, like AI and space, with SpaceX doing IPO, that actually will help investment in a highly technological area like longevity, because you have people who have made money in a technological way and then become newly wealthy. So they will then be more inclined to see, I'm willing to invest in new technology because I believe in technology is how I made my money, and I'm newly wealthy, I'm not had funds committed, and I'm seeing that. So I'm thinking that there'd be a valid target to try and fundraise for companies, become limited partners for philanthropy, which occurred when people got wealthy with crypto and blockchain, where one of the people who made money with Ethereum made major donations to anti-aging. So I'm open to any questions people have. Yeah.
All right, Brian. So, Brian, this is a little off topic, but it's just how strongly does the Bay Area compare to San Diego?
I'm pretty sure that they're quite larger because, by my calculation, it's already half for longevity. So if you have San Diego and then you have, Boston, something like that, they're both sharing from half. So they're smaller. But I think Carl might be the answer. Yeah.
I can actually mention that. I think the Bay Area economy ranks, I think, the 6th in the world as GDP. So I think we're a lot bigger than San Diego, even though they have the Scripps, the Salk, and the Venture, and the UC San Diego, and so on and so forth. There's a lot of companies down there in biotech, but I think we pretty much dwarf them, like significantly.
But then the research, I think, is, the funding goes into the Bay Area, but then they'll have research in San Diego, in Cambridge, other places.
Yes, thank you very much for this informative market overview. I'm curious as to your thoughts about the motivations of billionaire investors in particular, because the 3 largest companies you mentioned, Altos Labs, Calico, and Retro Biosciences, were all funded by billionaire investors who decided to essentially go and create their own thing instead of investing in either existing companies or nonprofit organizations or research labs where scientists have been working for a long time on particular approaches to combat aging, where funding has been the bottleneck. So I'm curious as to your assessment of why it seems like a common modus operandi for a billionaire who enters the field to decide, oh no, I don't want to fund anything that exists, I'm going to create my own company. Is it just a matter of control, or is it something else? Do they think they know better than the rest of the field?
Well, also, we'll both reply to that. I know a little bit about this. I spoke to Larry Ellison back in 2001, around year 2000. We were at the Fairmont Hotel, and I asked him why he's doing his medical foundation, why he was really promoting this line of work. And basically he said, well, his father passed away at 54 or something like that, so it was personal. And I think it's personal. I mean, if you have that kind of money and you want to direct it yourself, or you want to be involved, right? It's your money. You want to make sure it's done right. So I think it's just I'm not going to say control, but I think there's something there. And about Larry, by the way, Larry got out of it because he pretty much got out of the whole milieu, because, well, I guess it just took longer than he was willing to, I mean, it takes time. This stuff aging is hard. AI is hard, but of course AI now has come online, but it took decades. I mean, Marvin Minsky and John McCarthy, right, back in the day, in the 1950s, were doing or trying to do AI. In fact, I'll never forget Marvin Minsky told me that back, I think, in 68 or 69, he wrote a grant proposal to ARPA, to DOD, asking he wanted to build a machine that had 1 million bytes of memory. Imagine that, 1 million. And back in that time, 1 byte of memory cost $1. Okay? And he wanted $1 million, so you could build this unbelievable machine that would solve all the AI problems. Well, no, he didn't. But he did get the money, and he moved things forward, right? It's an incremental change, right? And you're going to fail a lot of times, but success is built on a road of failure, isn't it? Right? And so if you can't afford to fail, you can't afford to win. Anyways, go ahead.
To answer your question about do they want to take control and do it? So not just for these companies, but I feel like Bezos would start up Blue Origin for space. He didn't invest it into another rocket company. So I think the answer is clearly that they want to invest in their own company, their own method, that they believe that they can pick the people, the method, and whatever, and get to the right result.
I don't need the mic, Brian. You can ask the question. You're a futurist. If
Yeah.
people wanted to read what you're thinking about, is there a way for us to do that? And if so, how?
Okay.
Can you repeat the question, please?
She was asking for my writing, what's the way to read about the things I'm writing about. So I have my website, nextbigfuture.com, or Substack, nextbigfuture.substack.com, or YouTube, or on X, again, all Next Big Future. Thank you very much. Yeah. Oh, you ready to use that?